Plato's theory of forms was meant to solve two very important questions in regards to the world we live in and the mind. The first question is the ethical problem. How can humans live a fulfilling, happy life in a contingent, changing world where everything they attach themselves to can be taken away? And the second question, the problem with permanence and change. How can the world appear to be both permanent and changing? The world we perceive through the senses seems to always be changing. The world that we perceive through the mind using certain concepts, such as circles, algebraic truths, etc., seems to be permanent and unchanging. Which is most real, and why does it appear both ways? Plato had a conception of justice that revolved around the well-being of the soul. In order to answer what the soul is like, Plato gave it a threefold structure of physical activity, the appetitive soul, of emotional activity, the spirited soul, and of intellectual activity, the rational soul. Plato then proceeded to split up existence into two realms, the material realm, the appetitive and spirited soul, and the transcendent realm of forms, the rational soul. Humans can connect to the realm of forms through the mind, through reason. This gives us access to an unchanging world, indestructible by change of the material world. By disassociating ourselves from our bodies and the material world, and choosing instead to promote our ability to concern ourselves with the forms, we will find a value which is not open to change or disintegration. Plato's theory of forms also solves the problem of permanence and change. We can distinguish between two different worlds within our mind and that of the senses. How is it that the material world, perceived through the senses, is always changing? However, the realm of forms perceived through the mind is permanent. It is through the realm of forms that the world becomes real. The world of change and the senses is merely an imperfect image of this world. A form is an abstract property or quality. Take any property of an object, separate it from that object, and consider it by itself, and you are contemplating a form. Example: if you take a bowling ball and strip it from its color, its weight, etc., and consider just the roundness of the bowling ball by itself, you would be thinking of the form of roundness. Plato held that this property existed apart from the bowling ball, in a different mode of existence than the bowling ball. The form is not just the idea of roundness you have in your mind, it exists separately of the bowling ball and separately of whether someone thinks of it. All round objects participate or copy the same form of roundness. The forms are transcendent. This means they do not exist in space and time. A material object, a bowling ball, exists in a distinct place at a distinct time. A form, roundness, does not exist at any place or any time. The form exists in a different way. This is especially important because it explains why the forms are unchanging. A form such as roundness will never change. It does not even exist in time. It is the same at all times or places in which it might be instantiated, which means be represented by an actual example. A form does not exist in space in that it can be instantiated in many places at once and need not be instantiated anywhere in order for the form to exist. The form of roundness can be found in many particular spatial locations, and even if all round objects were destroyed, the property of roundness would still exist. The forms are also pure. This means that they are pure properties separated from all other properties. A material object such as a bowling ball has many properties: roundness, hardness, color, etc. These are all put together to make up this individual bowling ball. The form is just one of these properties existing by itself, apart from space and time. Roundness is just pure roundness, without any other properties mixed in. The forms differ from material objects because they are transcendent and pure, while material objects are complex properties that can be located in space and time. In Plato's theory of the soul, the rational soul, by participating in the forms, is the eternal part of the soul, while the spirited and appetitive parts are the bodily parts and will die with the body. Through Plato's theory of forms, we discover our soul is not our bodies or emotions. Our soul is a mathematical form that extends through time and space and cannot be located in time and space. To understand this soul equation on a greater level, check out Morg's video, The Soul Equation. This has been Tuesday Talks with Irene. Please join me next week for the continuation of the soul, and never be afraid to pursue the why.